Hey everybody, it's the end of June and just wanted to give a quick update on where we're at in the vineyard right now, kind of what we're doing, taking care of business out here. It's still a growing season. We haven't had any veraison yet. Veraison's when all the grapes start to soften and change color and accumulate sugar. Right now we're still just seeing these clusters get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the leaves keep growing, the branches keep growing, so we're trying to play catch up with that and trying to sort of maximize air and light penetration into the canopy. I'm sitting here right now in our Galleron vineyard Petite Sirah, which we've gone through and leafed completely, and we've also thinned it. Right now we're starting to thin the big bunch varieties to some of the early red varieties like Petite Sirah and a little bit of Zinfandel, and we'll be hopping on some more Zinfandel next week. So kind of take a look at what we do here with Petite and check out some of the thinning here. So you can see here, we're in what we call long rows at Galleron, so they are next to the short rows. But you can see all that greenery on the ground that looks like it's fallen to the bottom, and those are all the clusters we've thinned off of these grapes. I'll try and go in tight here on a bunch and show you what we're up to. So Petite Sirah is a fairly big bunched variety. You get these kind of large clusters, and what Petite Sirah loves to do is set wings. And so you can see in this bunch here in the center of the camera, we've actually cut off one of the wings, one of the side bunches that tends to come with Petite Sirah. Petite Sirah is very famous for having that. And actually, I walked through the whole vineyard to try and find an example of one that we missed. And we're going to kind of try and show you what we mean when we say taking it off. So you see this bunch in the center here. It actually doesn't look at it at first glance, but that's actually two bunches mashed together. So I'm going to go in here and clip out this cluster here, and you can see I've thinned out this cluster that was embedded in this primary cluster. You can see almost the hole where that was. When that cluster gets big, or when these two clusters get big, they grow together, and that's where botrytis and things like that start to grow. So we go through this entire block and thin out every single wing, every single shoulder on all the clusters in the Petite Sirah so that everything hangs free and is able to ripen really, really clean. That takes a ton of work, but it reduces our dependency on antibotrytis chemicals and things like that, and really helps give us a much cleaner cluster and great cluster structure. So it's kind of cool. One other important thing that we're doing right now is our hand watering, which you might think, wait, I thought you guys dry farmed. And it's definitely true, but in order to establish a grapevine, you always want to hand water it. And we distinguish it from irrigation because this is a style of watering the vines that allows the roots to grow down deep and really establishes the vine's root base so that in the future it doesn't need water. So this is a vine that's very young. It's just coming up the stake right now. You can see there's no real form on top. There are no grapes on this vine. And so we're just trying to establish a strong base for it. So we've dug this kind of pit around. This is hand dug around this vine, and 5 gallons of water was added just a couple minutes ago to this vine. And that water goes down deep into the soil, quickly drains down into the soil so that the roots go chasing after it. Now this vine, because it's already coming up the stake, it's gotten the last water it will ever get. And so its neighbor, which just happened to be a little bit more advanced, is already what you might call dry farmed. It's already never going to receive any more water for the rest of its life. And you can see some Sauvignon Blanc clusters on there. And that's basically the kind of, that final watering of the vine is very important for developing that base. But once it gets to the point where it's actually producing fruit, it's cut off. And it doesn't matter, this vine is still strong and big and is doing super well, despite already getting its last watering last year, but it's doing well because it's had that strong base developed. So you can see we have this young vine that we've dug the hole around, and Gerardo is adding a good shot of water to this vine. 5 gallons all at once, and it collects right around the base of the plant and quickly goes down deep into the soil. So we'll kind of walk along. This one you can already see some water starting to recede through this quick draining soil. Here are a bunch of vines that are already developed and haven't needed additional water. You can see this one already starting to drain all the way down. Coming along here. The water quickly drains through the soil. It drains down deep into the soil. This is fairly rich soil, deep soils here at Galleron. So this water is going to go down deep, and the roots are going to go chasing after it. And so you can see here, not even a few minutes after adding that 5 gallons of water, all the water on top is already drained down into the soil, and those roots are going to go chasing after it. We'll actually come through with shovels afterwards and top up all that wet soil with dry soil to help lock the moisture in there so it doesn't evaporate right away. And this is what allows these young vines to really grow vigorously in their first year up the stake, and that's what establishes the strong vine and the strong structure of the vine going forward. So the hand watering you just saw, you just saw dry farming. That's what dry farming is establishing. It's not about not irrigating, it's about preparing these vines so that they won't need water during their productive lives. So you saw us adding water to these vines when they're young, in order to establish this strong base. It's completely different than the idea of sustaining them every year and making them dependent upon the water that you give them every year for their own survival. Instead, these vines are now growing systems of roots where they're going to be able to survive on their own for, fingers crossed, 50 years. That's how you establish a dry farm vineyard, and that's what dry farming is. It's a positive action to make those things happen. Hope you guys enjoy. We've got tons of other stuff going on. Hopefully within a few weeks we'll start seeing some berries change color. For right now we're just keeping up with Mother Nature. Hope everyone's well. Bye.